Welcome to People in Profit. I'm Kate Moody. Coming up, has the global economy missed the boat when it comes to renewable energy? Despite growing investment, clean energy still lags behind fossil fuels when it comes to powering homes and businesses. A flying drone or a jumping robot? How will you get around in the future? France 24 is at Viva Tech to check out some of the latest innovations in mobility. And back in the current reality, electric barges are now the transporters of choice for more and more French firms looking to get around high fuel prices and traffic jams. The world missed a historic chance for a clean energy recovery in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's the warning from the sustainable energy network REN21, which says that pledges and investment aren't necessarily leading to action. Its annual report says the overall share of renewable energy in global consumption has stagnated, rising only slightly from 8.7% in 2009 to 12.6% more than a decade later. Fossil fuels still make up the bulk of global energy, and the effects on the environment are clear. While global energy demand and CO2 emissions dropped during the first year of the pandemic, they rebounded sharply in 2021, with emissions hitting a record high. Let's speak now to Rana Adib, Executive Director of REN21. Rana, tell me, what's holding up the switch to renewable energy sources? What are the biggest barriers?
One of the biggest barriers is that we're actually operating in an energy system that has been built around fossil fuel, so oil, natural gas, and coal, and that we're in a situation that even though renewable energy today represents the least cost option, so the most economic cost to provide energy service, in particular electricity, this system is being maintained by subsidies for fossil fuel in 115 countries, by market conditions and an ecosystem that is maintaining this and really fighting for maintaining it. So this is clearly one part, fossil fuel. The other one is that renewable uptake has been, we have again record years when we're looking into 2021. But the reality is energy demand has been growing significantly, and the uptake is not quick enough, not exponential enough. So we need much more courage and leadership to make the shift happen.
What role has the COVID pandemic played in all of this?
So the COVID pandemic actually has really promised, I guess, like a worldwide green recovery. And that is something which has also put to the forefront like the environmental and health impact. So we spoke about cities with blue skies, better air pollution, etc. So a clear awareness. And as a result, in 2021, we have seen that governments have been clearly putting forward lots of net zero ambition. Unfortunately, the ambition is not enough. We need concrete action. And we see, for instance, that the government that have been engaged in net zero do not clearly translate this in a fundamental shift of our energy system, which means phasing out fossil fuels, so ending the sword, investing in energy saving, energy efficiency, and renewable energy. So COVID has created an opportunity, but unfortunately, collectively, we have not been able to build on this historic momentum.
Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, fossil fuels, so things like oil, gas, and coal, had become much more expensive and also in shorter supply. Shouldn't that encourage people and governments to switch faster to greener alternatives?
Yes, indeed. I think this is also where we see that this situation, it sounds horrible to say so, but creates to a certain extent an opportunity, because renewable energy is moving out of an environmental and climate and I guess like a development discussions into the heart of economic decisions and geopolitical decisions, so about energy security. And the reality is, as you rightly said, like the prices of natural gas, coal and oil have gone up so significantly that it is a burden for the households, it's a burden for the industry, and they all look into ways to reduce basically their energy bill. Now, renewable energy can clearly deliver here. It can deliver because it's most economic. It can also deliver because we're speaking about an energy service that does not depend on fuel supply, so the operational cost is low, and is basically much more secure in terms of planning, and there is less economic risk. The reality, unfortunately, is that we see many governments not building on this opportunity, but rather using old ways of responding to such crises and subsidizing the energy bill, so the energy cost, which actually comes down to subsidizing fossil fuel, diversifying to other sources to address energy security.
We know that there's been a huge spike in investment, over $360 billion invested in renewable energy last year. What needs to be done to make sure that money is put to the right use, to make sure that it bears fruit?
So I guess like what needs to be done is directly going into renewable capacities, generation capacities, also infrastructure and into grids. We clearly see that today renewable energy power is the least cost option. And we also have the opportunity with an electrification of the heating and cooling sector, but also transferred with the e-mobility to also contribute to an acceleration of the renewable energy uptake in the sector that are actually lagging behind. Where the money needs to go to, however, is not, or it's not so much a question about where the money needs to go, but how much money needs to go there. Because as you said, like it's over 360 billion US dollars that went into that sector. But when we are looking into scenarios, we need basically to increase those annually by 3 times or 5 times to if we want to be serious about the climate goals. And I think it's really important to put this in perspective to the fact that next to it, we're spending 11 million US dollars per minute to subsidize fossil fuel. And this is based on numbers from IMF, and they are certainly trustful.
What countries are doing the best in bringing in renewable energy sources?
So we see that renewable energy sources, here it's about not only an energy system transformation, but an economy-wide transformation. And this comes down to what is the share of renewable energy in the total final energy consumption. So we have some leading countries, but unfortunately, the message is that when you're looking at the world map, there is only 3 countries that have a renewable energy share economy-wide that is over 50%. These are Iceland, Finland, and Sweden. And as a result, they're also front runners. Why are they front runners? Because they have not only been driving the transition in the power sector, but also in the heating and cooling sector, which is more than 50% of the energy demand. And the share of renewable energy here is around 11% only. So these are clearly countries, but we can also mention we're in Spain here to launch the report, but also kick off the Spanish International Renewable Energy Conference. And what is interesting here, there is a very deep understanding that the transition is not only about an energy transition, an energy system transition, but also transformations of the economy and society, and the citizens are at the heart of those transformations. So there is a lot of learning here about not only technological innovation, but also social innovation.
We know that there's been a huge spike in investment, over $360 billion invested in renewable energy last year. What needs to be done to make sure that money is put to the right use, to make sure that it bears fruit?
So we clearly see that today renewable energy power is the least cost option. And we also have the opportunity with an electrification of the heating and cooling sector, but also transferred with the e-mobility to also contribute to an acceleration of the renewable energy uptake in the sector that are actually lagging behind. Where the money needs to go to, however, is not, or it's not so much a question about where the money needs to go, but how much money needs to go there. Because as you said, like it's over 360 billion US dollars that went into that sector. But when we are looking into scenarios, we need basically to increase those annually by 3 times or 5 times to if we want to be serious about the climate goals. And I think it's really important to put this in perspective to the fact that next to it, we're spending 11 million US dollars per minute to subsidize fossil fuel. And this is based on numbers from IMF, and they are certainly trustful.
France in particular is looking to increase nuclear power as a cleaner alternative to oil and gas. What's your response to that?
For climate reasons, today I would say like phasing out nuclear power plants should not happen without having low cost, least cost, net zero alternatives to renewable energy. But when we are looking into the global situation, the reality is actually that nuclear is not really a global solution, because you need like the skills, the technology, the political governance. And let's be honest, the situation in the Ukraine around the nuclear plants also has shown that we're speaking about clear risks. Then there is another aspect. We need basically to ramp up energy production as quickly as possible, because there is an increasing energy demand in particular in Asia and in Africa. And building a nuclear power plant takes, let's say, like positively 10 years or 15 years, whereas developing renewable energy can really happen on the time of a couple of months to, let's say, 2 years, 3 years, depending obviously on the policy regulatory frameworks and also the permitting processes.
So there's obviously a lot to be done on the policy side. What can consumers do to encourage or support this transition?
What is important is that those citizens clearly knock at the doors, participate in elections, get informed, and voice basically the fact that they want to have this solution, which is basically another governance system for our energy system, but also allows for many players to really participate and benefit from it. Today, the reality is from this energy crisis, which the price crisis, billions of people face the threat of energy poverty, while few people, few companies, some fossil fuel exporting countries clearly have windfall profits for fossil fuels. So,
Rana, Adib, thanks so much for joining us on People and Profit.
Thank you very much.
Well, Europe's largest tech event was back in Paris in full swing. Viva Tech brings together big corporations, small startups, and political leaders to discuss innovations that could change our lives. Among the big themes this year, the future of mobility. France 24's Yuka Royer went to test some of the latest technology.
The dog wants to go for a walk, and I need to get some food. It's time to head to the supermarket in style.
I can sit back, relax, and come back with a load of groceries.
Like these inflatable mini cars and bikes, a range of compact, battery-powered vehicles showcased at VivaTech were all about how people will get around places and how machines can do some tasks in their place. Installed with cutting-edge sensors and 8 hours of battery life, this robot can carry luggage up the stairs, do the last-mile delivery, or patrol rocky terrain.
So we got a lot of interest in people who want to use such a robot, especially because it has become difficult to find people to staff positions. And so with that robot, you can really make sure you have more uptime, more resilience.
There were also plenty of innovations on a larger scale. This company is working on a system to install wireless chargers under the roads so electric cars and buses can charge while driving and run on smaller batteries.
Autonomous shuttle with an electric car that can drive 24/7 with a minimum battery, this is the future of mobility.
Some are already commercializing their products. This passenger drone has cleared regulatory requirements in the United States for people to have a fun ride in the sky without a pilot's license. The company has already received 400 orders for delivery next year.
It's a completely different point of view. While sitting inside, you can feel almost like teleporting from one place to another. I imagine myself being like maybe Star Wars hero from a science fiction movie.
And for something larger, this is a flying taxi that is planned for commercial launch in 2024. All these innovations are offering us a glimpse into the future of mobility, but that future is fast becoming a reality.
Well, that's a look at what the future may hold. But in 2022, one of the emerging trends is a little more old school. With fuel costs rising and ever stricter rules on road traffic, many French businesses are looking to the waterways to transport goods on electric boats.
It's making its way to the forefront of Paris's urban logistics. Barges on the Seine as a mode of transport to deliver goods. It's a fast expanding trend. River traffic grew 4% last year. In the port of Lille, around 5 or 6 boats per day leave north to Dunkirk or towards the Belgian city of Antwerp via the Dole Canal.
When the boats arrive, we have to unload and reload continuously. It's a lot of work.
Here, tons of cargo are ready to leave the port.
It's a lot of construction materials, grains, and fertilizers.
The transport of construction materials has seen the biggest jump, up by 16% in a single year. In 2021, more than 52 million tons of goods were transported on the water in France, equivalent to taking more than 2.5 million lorries off the road. And using the waterways is not only faster but more eco-friendly. This cargo boat is 100% electric and operates daily to transport office supplies, avoiding road traffic as it sails through Paris.
We deliver between 5 to 10 tons of parcels, and that saves the delivery person an hour every day. They would otherwise be stuck in traffic commuting in and out of Paris. Instead, they can work while we're on the river, and then they arrive at the place of delivery.
Once unloaded off the boat, bikes deliver parcels to their final destination. A victim of its own success, though, this boat alone can no longer meet demand. 2 new barges will be put into operation this summer.
Well, that's all for now, but you can catch the show again on our website, france24.com, or as a podcast wherever you usually listen. You can also get in touch on social media with your comments and questions. Until next time, thanks for watching.